our town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire. It's just across the line from Massachusetts. Latitude is 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude is 70 degrees, 37 minutes. Running right through the middle of the town is Main Street. Cutting across Main Street on the left is the railroad tracks. Beyond the railroad tracks is Polish Town. You know, foreign folks who come here to work in the mills, a couple of Canuck families, and the Catholic Church. You can see the steeple of the Congregational Church. The Presbyterian is just across the street. The Methodist and the Unitarian are up a block. The Baptist Church is down in the hollow by the river. Next to the post office is the town hall. Jail's in the basement. Brian once made a speech right from those very steps. It's a nice town, know what I mean? Nobody very wonderful ever come out of it, so far as we know. The earliest dates on the tombstones up there in the cemetery say 1670. They're Grover's and Cartwright. She is now. Of course, naturally, out in the country all around, there have been lights on for some time, what with milking and so on. But town folks sleep late. Here comes Joe Crowell delivering the morning papers. So, another...
Emily? Wally? George? Rebecca?
Come on, get up. Betsy, come on. What's the matter with you? Oh, they've quit taking milk. Now, come on.
Morning, Howie.
Come on. Morning, Doc.
Betsy acting up?
She's all mixed up about the rot ever since the Lockhart stopped taking a quart of milk a day. She ought to leave him a quart just the same. Keeps scolding me the whole trip. Somebody sick?
Twins over at Mrs. Goloslavsky's.
Oh, twins, huh? This town keeps getting bigger every year. Come on. Now, come on, Bessie.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Joe.
Want your paper now?
Yeah, one second.
Anybody been sick, Doc?
No, twins over in Polish Town. Joe, I see your teacher, Miss Foster's going to get married.
Yes, sir, to a fella over in Concord.
Fair. How do you boys feel about that?
Children, hurry now. Emily, Wally. I declare you have to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's not helping me at all. Can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
Just whine. All he thinks about is that old baseball. George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. Children, I won't have it. Breakfast just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. Well, I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me like 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age. I declare, I don't know how you spend it all.
Oh, Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry fox face, that's what you spend it on.
Why don't you how Rebecca comes to have so much money? She's got more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual. Rebecca, pick up your feet. You know, it's always been the dream of my life to see Perilous France. Crazy, I suppose. For years I've been promising myself if we ever had the chance.
How's Doctor feel about it?
Well, I did beat about the bush a little. Said if I ever got a legacy, that's the way I put it, I'd make him take me.
What'd you say? Time. That's how I got Mr. Webb to take me to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Sorry I mentioned it. But it seems to me once in your life before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't speak in English and don't even want to.
That'll do, ladies. Thank you very much. Now we'll skip a few hours. Now, before we get on, I think we ought to have a little more information about the town. A kind of a scientific account, you might say. So I've invited Professor Willard of our state university to come here and kind of sketch in a few details of our past history. There he is now.
Am I late?
Right on time. May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? Now, just a few brief words, Professor. Unfortunately, our time's limited.
Yes, let me see. Grover's Corners. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pliocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I might say that's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that around here. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I might say unique fossils. 2 miles north of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. These may be seen in the museum of the university at any time. Well, that is, at any reasonable time. Shall I tell them about the meteorological conditions, the mean precipitation, etc.?
I'm afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few words about the history of man here, though.
Oh, anthropological data.
The population, Professor.
Within the town limits, 2,640. Oh, is that so? In that case, the population at the moment is 2,642. The postal districts bring in 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality?
Women vote indirect. Politically, we're 86% Republican, 12% Democrats, 4% Socialist. The rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics. Rest indifferent. Very ordinary town, if you ask me, but our young people here seem to like it well enough. You know, stable and holler some. We got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, I'd say that liquor wasn't a regular thing in the home here, except in the medicine chest. Right good for snake bites, you know, always was.
Mr. Webb.
Yes?
Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, no, ma'am, not much. That isn't the sense you mean. There's some girls that play the piano over at the high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, there ain't much culture. Robinson Crusoe and the Bible and Handel's Largo.
All the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm about the town. Charlie Webb's going home to mow his lawn. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower. The afternoon session of school is over. Doc Gibbs is in his office, tapping people and making them ah. Ah!
I have to go home and tell my mother. I promised.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Oh, hello.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech on the Monroe Doctrine, but the last minute Miss Foster made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them. I feel it's just something you have to go through.
What do you think, Emily? We might work out a kind of telegraph from your window to mine, and you could give me a hit every once in a while on those algebra problems.
Well,
Oh, I don't mean the answers, Emily. Of course not. I mean just...
it's the way a person's born.
Yeah. But you see, well, I want to be a farmer, and my Uncle Luke says that whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm, and if I'm any good at all, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Emily, what you doing?
Nothing, Mama.
If you're doing nothing, you can come in here and help me with this yarn. Well, George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? He's grown up. How old would George be?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's see, he must be around 17.
Mama made a speech in class today. I was very good.
You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off a spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life.
You're holding it too tight, Emily. Yeah, better.
Mama,
Hmm?
will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Of course you are. Both my children have got good features. Be ashamed if they hadn't.
Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
Was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright.
Oh, but Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody? Well, to get people interested in me.
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes.
Clock.
All right. That's better. It ain't no miracle.
Make it short. Oh, and remember, on Sunday, take the second verse real soft. Sort of die out at the end. Ready?
Yards.
In yards? What do you mean?
Square yards.
Oh, square yards.
Well, yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
Square yards of wallpaper.
Oh, I see. Square.
I guess I'd better get back now and try to work.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, George.
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Pa.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
Me? Oh, I'm past 17.
What do you want to do after school's over?
You know, Pa, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be willing, will you, to get up early and milk and feed the stock? And you'll be able to hoe and hay all day?
Well, sure I will. What do you mean, Pa?
Well, George, when I was here in the office today, I heard a funny sound. What do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. Now, there you see your mother, getting up early, cooking meals all day, washing and ironing, and yet she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I suppose she got tired asking you. I suppose she just... I knew all I had to do was call it to your attention. Here's a handkerchief, son. I wonder what's happened to your mother. Choir practice never was as late as this before.
Only 8:30, Pa.
I don't know what she wants in that choir anyway. She hasn't got any more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the street this hour of the night.
Well, naturally, I didn't want to say a word about it in front of those others. But now we're alone. Really, it's the worst scandal that ever was in this town. Why, Simon Simpson. No, Luella. But, Julia, they had the organist of a church drink and drunk year after year.
Luella.
Julia, you know. Frank ain't any later than usual.
You stopping the gossip with a lot of hens.
Now, don't be grouchy. Smell my heliotrope.
I guess I know Simon as well as anybody in this town. Some people just ain't made for small-town life. I don't know how that'll end. But there's nothing we can do but leave it alone. Get in.
Oh, no, not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to plan for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, I'm going to insist upon it.
No, Julie, no. There's no sense in going all over that again. Come on. It's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch a cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll get your wood chop. For a little while, anyway.
You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild always locks the front door every night. All the people up in that part of town do.
They're all getting too cityfied. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got a thing fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Just can't sleep yet, Papa. The moonlight's so wonderful, and the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope. Can you smell it?
What do you know?
Well, 3 years have gone by. The sun's come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rain's brought down some of the dirt. Some babies who weren't even born before have begun talking regular sentences already. And some folks who thought they were right young and spry have discovered they can't bound up a flight of stairs the way they used to without their hearts fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways, too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Most everybody in the world gets married. In this town, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Most everybody climbs into the grave married. What you've seen was called the daily life. Let's call what you're going to see love and marriage. So it's 3 years later. It's 1904. It's July 7th, just after the high school commencement. That's the time most young people jump up and get married. 5:45 for Boston. And there's Cy Crowell delivering the papers like his brother before him. And there's Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast just as though this were an ordinary day. And here comes Howie Newsom and Bessie delivering the milk.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Si. Anything in the paper I ought to know?
Nothing much. Except for losing about the best baseball pitcher Grover's Corners ever had.
There, Howie. Looks like I'll need 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
3 of milk and 2 of cream. My wife says to tell you we hope they'll be happy. No, they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie. Tell your wife I hope she gets the wedding.
Maybe she can. She'll get there if she can. Morning, Miss Webb.
Well, Mr. Newsom, told you 4 quarts, but I hope you can spare me another.
You and I have been conversing for 20 years without any noticeable barren spells.
Good weather, bad weather, tastes very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around up there?
No. This is the only day in the year when she isn't managing everyone's affairs up there. She's hiding in her room, and I have an idea she's crying.
Land, this has got to stop. Rebecca? Rebecca, come and eat your breakfast.
Good morning, everybody. Only 4 more hours to live.
George, dear, where you going?
I'm just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
Now, George, put your rubbers on. It's been raining torrent. You don't step out of this house unless you're prepared for it.
Oh, Ma, it's just a step.
You'll catch your death of cold and call thousands instead of it.
Ah,
George, do as your mother tells you.
Goodness, you frighten me. George, I hate to say it, but you understand, I can't ask you in.
why not?
You know as well as I do, a groom can't see his bride on his wedding day. Not till he sees her in church first.
Oh, that's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Morning, George.
You don't believe in that superstition, do you?
There's a lot of common sense in superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, and don't you be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How's Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. Haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep.
Well, no wonder we were up till all hours, sewing and packing. Tell you what I'll do, George. You sit down here with Mr. Webb for a minute, drink that cup of coffee. And I'll run up and see that she doesn't come down and surprise you.
Yes, sir. Guess I never thought of that before.
The girl's apt to be a mite nervous on her wedding day.
Gee, I wish a person could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way, George. And it hasn't been any use. It's the women folks who... George? I was remembering the other night the advice my father gave to me when I got married. Yes, he said, Charles, he said, start right off by showing her who's boss. Best thing to do is to give an order about something, even if it don't make sense. Just so she'll learn to obey, he said. Then he said, if anything about her irritates you, conversation or anything, get right up and leave the house. That'll make it clear to her. And oh, yes, he said, never tell your wife how much money you have. Never.
Well, I couldn't exactly... Goodbye.
Myrtle, I guess you didn't know about that older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the caveman, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding or near it. Now remember that.
Now, before we get on with the wedding, I think we should see how it all began, this plan to spend a lifetime together. I'm awfully interested in how such big things begin. You know, you're 21 or 22, and then you're 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years, and the white-haired lady beside you has eaten 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? Now, George and Emily are going to show you the conversation they had when they first knew, as the saying goes, they were meant for one another. Now, it all happened last year on the way home from school. George had just been elected president of the senior class, and Emily had just been elected secretary and treasurer.
I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings, but I just got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. I used to...
Oh, gosh, Emily. I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have some faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Why? I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can see, your father is. And there's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be, too.
I feel that it's just the other way around. That, well, men are...
We girls are more nervous. Oh, no, I'm sorry I said that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily...
Now I can see it isn't the truth at all. Suddenly I feel it isn't important. Thank you, I would.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily.
Hello, Morgan.
Well, what can I do for you? Why, Emily, what you been crying about?
Well, she got an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. That hardware store wagon almost ran over her. Everybody says that Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Well, here, let me give you a glass of water. Gracious, you look all shook up. I tell you, you got to look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. It's getting worse every year. What do you have? Very moment I'm talking to you. State inspector was in here yesterday. Now with all these automobiles coming along, looks to me like the only safe place to stay was to home. Gracious, I can remember the time when a dog would lie out in the middle of Main Street all day long without anything coming along to disturb him. Howdy, Mrs.
What?
If I go away to State Agricultural College next year, will you write me a letter once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agricultural school to be a good farmer.
Why, George.
Yeah, and some of them even say it's a waste of time, and well, you can get all that stuff anyway in the... Glad you spoke to me about that. Well, that fault in my character. And everything you said was right, but there was one thing wrong with it. And that's when you said I wasn't noticing people. You, for instance. You say you were watching me when I did everything. I was doing the same thing about you all the time.
Why?
Sure, I always thought about you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure where you're sitting on the bleachers, who you were with. Well, for 3 days now, I've been trying to... And even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important, too.
Emily?
Yes, George?
Emily, if I do improve...
I'll trust you.
But I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you for 10 years, George. Not a day more, though. Feeling all right now, Emily?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. It's nothing.
I'm ready.
Yes, a lot of thoughts go on during a wedding.
I've married 200 couples in my day. M marries N. Millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart, the Sunday afternoon drives in the country.
I don't want to get married. Why can't I stay for a while, Sam? Papa, darling, don't you remember what you used to say all the time that I was your girl? I don't want to get married.
Come on, Ma. We've got to get ready for this. Got the ring? Oh, yes, sir. Come on.
I always cry. I don't know why it is, but I always cry. I just like to see young people happy. They're such a lovely couple. I've never been to such a nice wedding. I'm sure.
To love and to cherish till death you do part,
according to God's holy ordinance, and thereto plight her your troth?
I do.
Do you, Emily, take George to your wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death you do part, according to God's holy ordinance, and thereto and have witnessed the same before God and this company, and have declared the same by giving and receiving a ring, I pronounce that they are husband and wife. Amen.
Pay you first of the month, like usual.
Hey, you, Howie.
Man his age shouldn't be driving one of those things. Not when he's got a lot of young fellas to do it for him.
Well, Howie likes to deliver the milk himself. Says he gets the feel of the town that way. You know, in all these years, he never kept a book. Carries all the accounts in his head.
I hear he's been doing so well, he's begun locking his front door at nights. Afraid of burglars.
Ain't no burglars in this town yet.
No, but Howie's heard about them.
This time, 9 years have gone by, friends. It's the summer of 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers are coming into town now in Fords. Still, you'd be surprised, though, on the whole. Things don't change much around here. This is an important part of Grover's Corners up here in this hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun, moon, and stars. Certainly a beautiful spot up here. I often wonder why people want to be buried in Woodlawn or Brooklyn when they might pass the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over here are the old stones, 1660, 1670. Strong-minded people who come a long ways to be independent. Over here are some Civil War veterans. Iron flags on their graves. New Hampshire boys. This is the new part of the cemetery. There's Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much, remember? And there's our friend, Mrs. Gibbs. And Doc Gibbs lost his wife 3 years ago, just about this time. And Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst on a Boy Scout trip to Crawford Notch. There's Mr. Stimson, the organist at the Congregational Church. He drank a lot, they used to say. Hung himself in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but of course it got around. He wrote his own epitaph. that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people that have lived for the past 5,000 years have been telling us that, and yet you'd be surprised how we lose sight of that fact. There's something eternal about every human being. With a mighty worried face.
To live.
What ails her? Trouble bringing a baby into the world. Why, I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? I remember I called on George and Emily at their farm just before I died. Very beautiful farm.
Dear friends, as we gather here in the last tribute of memory to our loved one,
Hello, Mother Gift.
let us remember the words
Hello,
of the Master.
Emily.
Hello,
I
Emily.
am the resurrection and the
Hello,
life.
Mrs. Soames.
He that believes in me.
Hello, sis.
Hello, Wally.
Eternal in the heavens.
Mother Gift, they're going.
Yes, dear.
Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you, Mother Gibbs. Mother Gibbs, I never realized how troubled and sad he looks. I loved him so. Mother Gibbs? Mother Gibbs? Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Seems strange here. How long does it... Hush, dear. Just wait. Be patient. How do you do, Mr. Stimson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I have made that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all. Oh, yes. Yes. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. My boy is spending the day at Mrs. Carter's. Oh, Mr. Carter, my little boy is spending the day at your house.
He is?
Yes, he loves it there. Mother Gibbs, one can go back in memory and live each of those days over again. But just then, for a moment, I was thinking about the farm. For a moment, I was there, and my baby was in my arms as plain as day.
Yes, but when you've been here longer, you'll realize that our life here is to forget all this, to think of what is ahead, and be ready.
Why should that be painful?
Because it's the happiest days that are the hardest to relive and to forget.
I must.
Then choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day in your life. It will be important enough.
Choose. I'll choose.
Yes, Emily. Think hard. Remember.
Look, there's Howie Newton. But there's Joe Crow. Morning, Howie.
Morning, Joe.
Children, Emily, Wally, time to get up.
Morning, Miss Webb.
On this Newton. Here's the code.
Yes, envelope of my bond, Miss Webb.
Keep yourself wrapped up, Mr. Newsom.
Yes, sir. Oh, tell Emily many happy returns of the day.
Now I know. It's my 16th birthday. Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon.
Any news here?
A couple was called up this morning to rescue a Polish fellow. Darn near froze to death he was.
We'll put that in the paper. Morning, Mother.
Well, there you are, back at last. How'd it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Yes, can't think of anything that happened special. Been mighty cold. Holly Newsom says 10 below down to his barn.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. They ain't Christian. Paper have any mistakes in it?
Not that I noticed. Oh, you can have your coffee when you want it, Charles. Don't forget it's Emily's birthday.
Mama, I'm here. I'm grown up. Oh, I love you all. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough.
Hurry up, children. 7 o'clock. I don't want to call you again.
Morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear. A happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. Prize is waiting for you on the table there.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. Can't I? Mama. Wally's dead, too. Mama, his appendix burst on a cabbing trip to Crawford Notch. We felt just terrible about it, don't you remember? Just for a moment now, we're all together. Mama, let's be happy just for a moment.
Present for you, too. He made it an annual training class. Be sure and make a fuss over it. Your father's got a surprise for you, too. Don't know what it is myself. Here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't go. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that and dresses and hot baths and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to... Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute. Oh, I want to live, I want to live, I want to...
Of course you do, Emily. Of course. Tomorrow's another day. Everybody's resting in Grover's Corners. You get a good rest, too. Good night.